like to get to our close.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for being here. And thank you for being here. Yeah. We'll get started now and spend about 10 minutes simply seated, simply bringing awareness to what is right now, what is in our bodies, what is in our minds, what is in our hearts, what is constituting our breath and our sense of presence. So to begin, get comfortable, find a way to support your body that feels like an equal mix of alert awakeness and calm ease and relaxation. Equal parts so that we arrive in a relatively balanced state and bring awareness to the breath. Noticing the rise and the fall of inhales and exhales as you hone your attention there. And consider that awareness a refuge for all of the other intrusions of life, of mind, of annoyance and pain. That the refuge is in this ability to turn to the breath and to rest there. Note that there is rising and note that there is falling. And neither instance will ever be exactly the same again. So stay with what it is right now. And as constructions of thought get built when we're not looking, there's no need to tear them down. There's no need to judge what was built. Just simply slide underneath that building and return to the basis of the breath, to the feeling of your body here in this moment. And before we know it, when we're not paying attention, those buildings form a veritable city in there. And the good news is that nothing is permanent, and there's nothing we have to do about what got built in the mind. There's just the return, only, ever, just the return. Come back to the breath. Come back to the rise and the fall that is right now, and nothing else. And all of those thoughts that get built, they're really nothing more than castles in the sand. And let the waves of breath wash them away. Observe the next few breaths. Stay with them as gently and yet precisely as you can. And very delicately return your awareness to your immediate surroundings and wake up the body perhaps a little more. So it's probably not news and in no way surprising to hear me suggest that we are fed conflicting messages in our culture, in our society, to do with largeness and smallness. And the idea that we should be mentally big, but physically small. Those conflicts are like, think big, but watch your calorie count. Push out of your comfort zone, but squeeze into your jeans and hope they still fit. Have big ideas, but eat light for the holiday season or for the bikini season that's coming around the bend in the spring and summer. And there's a little bit of whiplash that happens here. Well, which way? What are we supposed? Are we supposed to be big? Are we supposed to be small? And how does that get reconciled? And how does that get, no pun intended, digested into the way we live and the way we relate, the way we socialize, the way we work, and the way we walk through the world? Be the bigger person. We're supposed to believe, but don't actually be a big person, because that's not good for you. But being a bigger person socially, mentally, relationally is the correct thing. And maybe this is all just semantics, but the point that I want to make here is that I would like to suggest that actually it might be the other way around, and that physical form is something that gets defined by and judged by thinking that isn't big, thinking that is erroneous. What if we think small? We bring our mind into a place of shelter and allow ourselves to be energetically as big as we can be and as big as we actually are. And I think that middle ground then, the physical form, the physicality of our bodies, will fall into its natural meant to be place, because there isn't so much beating up about it, and there isn't so much back and forth about who and how we're supposed to be. So let me get a little more clear about this. And I'm not, this isn't necessarily like a body positivity talk, although it could be seen that way. And I'm all for that. It's about shifting and maybe flipping around some of the messaging that we're receiving in the world. So by thinking small, by narrowing our thoughts into a safe container, I am suggesting a mindfulness approach to the way our minds are on the constant go, getting revved up and getting pushed and prodded and pulled in so many different directions. That's a lot. That's a big heap of challenge for a mind that's so vulnerable, especially because there's so many avenues into it now. So many modes of communication that go straight to our lizard brains, our sense of like basic survival brain that's really getting targeted. So what if we think small? we bring our thoughts in and down to what's simply in front of us in any given moment. If I'm driving, could I just think about the road and my hands on the wheel and the cars that are immediately adjacent to me? And that's all. Could we actually not listen to anything in the car? Could we keep the phone out of sight, out of reach? Could we really be present in these moments? What if we stop at a red light? We don't reach for the phone. We don't fiddle with the channel. We don't, hook up the headset so we can listen to the next podcast. What if we think small and think right now and check around and see who else is with us on the road? See who else is with us in our hearts. Send them loving kindness. And these are small thoughts that can elevate and expand to make us big in our hearts and in our minds eventually. But it starts small. It starts in each moment. The focused, mindful presence gets us out of our ruminative, sometimes obsessive minds. And so going deep then opens us wide. The scientific news this week is extraordinary. If you haven't heard, we have figured out the first step toward this goal that has seemed elusive for decades about putting more energy out than we put in, and this breakthrough of fusion power, getting us one step closer to freeing us of our dependence on fossil fuels. This is going in small to then generate a largeness that we haven't known before and that could save the planet. Who knows? I think that what I'm suggesting here is not to be so hard on ourselves in terms of how we have to use our minds. It's really quite simple. It's to take whatever task, whatever moment, whatever person is right in front of us, whether whatever it is physically in front of us or in our hearts. Just one thing at a time. Be small in the way we consider what we're considering. And then let it turn us over and render us open in a way that feels expansive, in a way that feels inclusive, in a way that feels sustaining, in a way that feels like we are truly living the ideals of being interconnected, of oneness, which is ultimately the goal here, I believe. So I'll invite you into another practice. It'll be a guided meditation. And this is inspired by one that I experienced with Jonathan Faust, who's a wonderful meditation teacher. If you're in the Arlington or Northern Virginia or DC area, he's local. He is married to another wonderful Buddhist teacher, Tara Brach. And ultimately, this is about loving kindness, but making space for it by first thinking small and then allowing that to render us large in heart, large in mind, ultimately large in being, and as a result, connected to all others. So As you once again settle in your seat, and a sense of comfort and ease and support in your alert, awake state. Can you bring to mind the space between your forehead and the back of your head? And can you get a sense of the space between your eyes? Are you able to perceive or have some sense of the weight and the volume and the shape of your tongue? Bring to mind the shape, the weight, the volume of your lips. Can you conjure a sense of the space inside your throat? Are you able to feel the space that is between your sternum, breastbone, and your spine, and the whole chest cavity? Can you feel that space? And bring your mind there and perceive its true presence. Perhaps in that space you get a sense of the volume or the weight or the shape of your heart and your lungs. As you breathe, can you feel the space that gets delineated by the rise and fall of the diaphragm just beneath the chest cavity, and its shape as a dome? It's the space it occupies, the weight of that muscle that's always fluctuating, keeping us alive. Can you visualize or have some sense or perception of the space between your navel and your spine? And perhaps acknowledging and recognizing the digestive organs, the intestines, and the liver, pancreas, the kidneys. You don't have to know how they're shaped, just sense the presence of them and know that there is volume and shape and weight. Can you perceive that presence there? That space that is taken up by you and all that makes you you. And all that connects you to what's around you by filtering and digesting literally what comes in and what goes out. So the space in you is reflective of and conversing with the space around you all the time. Can you bring forward a sensibility of the space in the pelvis, from hip to hip, from sacrum in the back to pubic bone in the front? From just below the navel down to the pelvic floor, that basin of space, that seat of creation that starts small and renders us large and present and real here and now. And all the generative capacity that lives in that space. Can you bring forward a perception, a sensibility of the length and the weight and the volume of your right arm? And the same of your right hand. Feel their presence. Feel how this limb has shape and form, and yet is light and free and spacious. Can you do the same with your left arm? Its length, its weight, its volume, from top to bottom, from end to end. And the same with the left hand. Perceive each finger. Trace the outlines. And these awarenesses are at once gentle and precise. Can you feel the length and the weight and the space of your right leg? And your right foot? from hip to toe tip. Can you do the same with precise yet gentle awareness of your left leg? And the left foot, from the hip to the tip of the toe. So with these small, precise awarenesses mixed with a gentle approach, we feel the spacious and yet formed presence of the body. From the crown of the head, feel that space all the way down to the base of your torso and the soles of your feet. And then with this gentle and precise perception, these awarenesses, can you imagine the shape, the contours and form of your body at its edges extending out beyond into the room where you are right now? And with that expansion, a loving presence accompanies. So what's being offered out beyond the physical contours of your body is not the smallness of mind or the judgment of perception, but a simple, easy way that turns small to large, that takes precision with a gentle approach and offers it out. Can you imagine this extension of this loving presence that starts small inside of you, fills the room, and then goes beyond your building or your house, wherever you're sitting? Let it travel down the street. Let it fill that space with loving presence. Let it perfuse the whole city or town. All the way to the edge of the forest. Or if you're in a forest, the edge of where the next one begins. And that same loving presence that starts small in the heart and begins to build out from the contours of the body, through the building, down the block, through the city, into the forest. Let it travel all the way to the horizon. And all the way around the surface of the planet. Could we be that big, even as we feel so small? And from the surface of the planet into and out and up through the visible sky. Dark on one side of the planet, light on the other. The same sky. And all the way through the atmosphere into the places unknown and unseen. Can we be that big? Can our love expand that high and wide and large? Could we be part of that expanse? Another way of phrasing that question is, can we remember that we are and have been and always will be part of that expanse? We extend this awareness of loving presence, this sense of expansive usness, all the way to the moon and the sun and the planets and the furthest possible star. To round this out, I'll share this poem by Mary Oliver. Last night the rain spoke to me. Last night the rain spoke to me, slowly saying what joy to come falling out of the brisk cloud, to be happy again in a new way on earth. That's what it said as it dropped, smelling of iron, and vanished like a dream of the ocean into the branches and the grass below. Then it was over. The sky cleared. I was standing under a tree. The tree was a tree with happy leaves, and I was myself. And there were stars in the sky that were also themselves. At which moment, my right hand was holding my left hand, which was holding the tree, which was filled with stars and the soft rain. Imagine the long and wondrous journeys still to be ours. Imagine. You may, if you'd like, gently bring your palms together at your heart and bow your head to your heart in recognition of our simultaneous smallness and vast expanse of loving presence and ease and generosity and kindness and hope in this world. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will be on break until the new year, so I will see you all again first week of January. Be well, be at ease, be at peace. Thank you so much.